If you are a dairy producer who has been thinking about taking your milk all the way to the dairy case yourself, this episode is for you. Vertical integration is on the minds of many forward-thinking dairy farmers, and that's why today you are going to hear from a dairyman who is doing it on the Uplevel Dairy podcast. This is the podcast for dairy farm owners, managers, and advisors who are committed to profitability, sustainability, and excellence. My name is Peggy Coffeen, and it's my mission to bring you the conversations that will up-level your skill set and your mindset so you can be a top performer in the dairy business. I recently sat down with TJ Tuls, a fourth-generation dairyman and founder of DARI, the company that has created the milk beverage MOO'V, to talk about how becoming a dad is what inspired him to want to transform the milk drinking experience for his son and his wife, and it gave him the vision for creating lifelong consumers of milk by bringing to the marketplace a high-protein, extended shelf life, lactose-free, no sugar added, and might I also say deliciously flavored milk beverage to a dairy case near you. You're going to hear about the challenges of finding a processor and why TJ is building his own plant. You're going to learn about product formulation, getting shelf space in the dairy case, and learn how MOO'V tells the story of milk through the eyes of the cow. This episode is sponsored by Heritage Vet Partners, the nation's leading veterinary partnership that is revolutionizing the way veterinarians serve the most progressive and forward-thinking dairy farm clients across the country through a new model of providing exceptional service, consultation, products, and supplies. Stick around to the end of this episode to hear straight from Dr. David Gnad, CEO of Heritage Vet Partners. And so, what drove TJ to take the milk from his cows and create a new brand? Well, it all started when this dairyman became a dad.
I've always known that we've produced milk to feed people and known that what we're doing here is a really intimate process. This milk from these cows into a bottle, it goes into cheese, it goes into ice cream. People are consuming what we make. Having a child, my son Zane, he changed it a little bit for me because I watched my wife struggle to carry it in her diaper bag and the purse in the car, and seen some of her frustration not growing up on a dairy. She wasn't quite as like, hey, we're going to drink milk as I was growing up. And so I seen her kind of turn into other things. And I'm like, if a dairy farmer's wife who maybe, even though she didn't grow up on a farm, she's still been around it for like 6 years prior to having Zane, is willing to change that easily. Why wouldn't a normal consumer, right? And so my thinking on it was we have to make this easier for moms and better for kids in general. A lot of the flavored milks that are out there have a ton of sugar in them. And for a 4, 5, 6-year-old kid, it's just excessive. And so for moms that are looking for healthy options, we know that milk is a healthy option. It's the best beverage that a kid can drink. But when you add all these flavors and sugar to it, kind of changes that perspective. And so I still want kids to grab milk and reach for milk. And so I woke up one morning and like, why can't we flavor milk the same way they flavor water? Not adding sugar, not adding artificial color or artificial flavorings or other ingredients that really aren't good for you. And so we set out to do that, and that's how we came up with MOO'V.
TJ saw MOO'V as a way to solve a problem for moms and founded the parent company DARI with the mission of creating lifelong consumers of milk by solving another problem, the child's milk drinking memory.
Our mission with this company, DARI, is it's a little bit of a play on words. We trademarked the saying, real milk, real cows. We're wanting to create lifelong consumers of milk and dairy. And when you think back to your experience as a kid, what your experience with milk was, it was probably one of two things. It was either mom forcing you to finish your milk at the dinner table, or you grabbing a carton out of the cooler at school. That carton may or may not have been cold. It may or may not have leaked. Probably had some crust from one that leaked on the top. And, if you're lucky, it wasn't sour, right? And so when kids experience that at school, and that's their only experience with milk, it's really not that cool, right? And so we created a bottle, a label that hopefully gets kids kind of engaged.
TJ had a clear vision for the milk experience he wanted for his son as a young milk drinker, and also for his wife as a mom looking to make choices she could feel good about for her child. but also with the convenience of extended shelf life. The first steps to making it reality required finding the right people to research and formulate.
I think the first step to probably any new venture is realizing what you're capable of and what you're not. I am not a food scientist and I'm not a formulator. And so I did a lot of research to find somebody that was good at that and had the experience doing it with milk and milk fat. And so we found our formulator and then started doing a lot of trial runs with product. The product that we have is ultra filtered. And so getting ultra filtered milk to the formulator so that she has the right thing to work with. And then, ultra high temperature UHT pasteurization creates a little bit of a different flavor. And so you have to work around some of that stuff. And then identifying which ingredients we were going to use and weren't going to use. I didn't want anything that wasn't natural in our product. I wanted to keep a really clean label, just good, short and sweet. Mom can look at it and go, yep, those are real ingredients, real milk, and feel good about that. And so we sourced a couple proprietary ingredients that you won't really see on the shelf. A couple of them are out of the Netherlands, milk powders and things. So we did a lot of R&D on that.
TJ learned that the research and development phase took time and a lot of tasting.
And it took about a year and a half to get to where we felt the product was marketable and launchable to the general public. Some of that R&D, you sit behind a mirrored glass wall, and you're watching kids and their parents try your product. And sometimes the kids are like, oh yeah, that's really good. Their eyes get big and you can tell they like it. And then some of them are just like making funny faces and going, that one's not good. They don't know you're there, but it was an interesting process. And we did that about 3 times with 40 kids each time. We have vanilla, strawberry, and cinnamon swirl. So our vanilla tastes kind of like vanilla ice cream. The strawberry is a really fresh, and then cinnamon swirl tastes kind of like cinnamon toast crunch. So also have horchata labeled on it. I don't know if you've had the ethnic background. It comes from Mexico, horchata, and so it's a cinnamon flavored like rice milk, but kind of went after that. And so we're trying to hit that market as well. And like I said, we're still working on our chocolate. We'll hopefully be launching that later this fall. So wanting to use all natural ingredients, you're having to use cocoa powder, and then we really didn't want to use sugar or add sugar with our other products. So we're using monk fruit and some stevia to help sweeten it without adding that sugar. And I just couldn't get the bitterness out of the cocoa without sugar. And so we're going to end up adding just a little bit of sugar to this product to take that bitterness off. When you drink a chocolate milk from anybody else, it's thick, it's creamy. A lot of them use high fructose corn syrup with it. And so to get the right mouthfeel that, tasted good also, we just couldn't get there without it. We tried a ton of different variations of it. And so we ended up going, you know what, let's just try and add a little bit of sugar to it and see how it goes. And we finally got it. So yeah, I'm excited about that because chocolate milk is a huge market. And it also is something that most people will go like, oh yeah, I'll try it. Right. And so we're excited about that.
With 3 shelf-ready flavors and 1 more in the works, the next step was finding a processor to take their milk and the flavor formulations and bring them to life. And again, this proved to be another challenge in the journey of getting MOO'V to market.
Finding somebody that would co-pack for us was definitely a challenge. I had originally planned on putting in an aseptic package, a Tetra Pak, or a SIG package, and that didn't work out. We're on the 5-yard line to having a contract inked with 2 different companies. One of them decided that they weren't going to process dairy products anymore. And then the other just wasn't as efficient as they thought they were and didn't have the space that they thought they had. So then we had to go to plan B. And thankfully, my dad has family that's in the dairy processing industry out in California. And so right now, we're shipping milk from Nebraska to Kansas, having it ultra filtered, and then shipping it from there to Southern California and having it bottled. And then a lot of it's coming back to the Midwest to be sold and stored. And so we're currently in an ESL package. Still has to be refrigerated, but will last on a shelf for up to 90 days. and we are working on the aseptic line now. So after the experience I had with other co-packers, I didn't really intend to build a plant as quick as we're going to, but we're in the design and engineering phase right now to put our first plant up in Nebraska. We vetted two different states, two states that we've got facilities in, and one state wanted it significantly more than the other. And so we decided to put it in Nebraska. It's going to be located right on a major interstate. So we're going to be able to run product east, west, north, south. Heartland of the country doesn't have any aseptic processing capacity in it at the moment. And so it's going to open it up to some other companies that are looking for a co-packer. And so after our experience with co-packers and being told one thing and then getting really, really close to launching a product that way and having to change course, I just decided that, I know that my handshake's good and that our Midwest commitment is good. Come from a farm background, you do what you say you're going to do. And if these guys can keep their plants full and treat customers the way they're treating us, I think we can fill a plant. And so that's what we're working on.
Having full capability to process their own milk with extended shelf life and in an aseptic package that does not require refrigeration is not only for consumer convenience. There's a bigger picture to what this means for the milk TJ and his family produce on their farms.
We noticed that during COVID, we're dumping a ton of milk. My family alone dumped over 2 million gallons during that time. And it's pretty hard to, watch everything you're working for go right back into your lagoon and convince your employees to do a good job when they see the tanker leaving the parlor and backing up to the pond. And so I really don't ever want to have to do that again. I don't want anybody to experience what we experienced during that time again, but this would have allowed us to continue to package milk, not require refrigeration, be able to distribute to places like food banks and people in need that really needed it and maybe didn't have the space in a refrigerator. And also, from another angle, you're able to export this milk or cream because it doesn't require refrigeration. It can be packaged in a container overseas. So it opens up a lot of opportunities. A lot of it's going on in like Australia, New Zealand, places like that. We're just a little bit behind on it in America.
While most of the milk from their dairies is marketed through cooperatives, MOO'V has provided the opportunity for TJ to explore vertical integration.
We're definitely thankful for the companies that we ship milk to now. And it's not that they haven't done a good job. It's just like time for us to take part in some of that and vertically integrate. We're doing it in lots of different areas in our business outside of just, launching a product. I mean, we're hauling all of our own cattle and a bunch of our own feed now through our trucking company. Like I said, we're adding some farmland into it. But I think that vertical integration and maximizing, all of your resources and opportunities are going to be key to being, here 20, 30, 50 years from now. We went to a couple different groups with this product, hoping to co-launch or help us launch this thing and take it, to another level quicker through production, distribution, things like that. And we were unsuccessful in changing their mind on what milk could be. And so we decided to go about it on our own. And during that time, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to continue to manage our dairies to the level that I wanted to manage them at and spend enough time with my cows and my people. And so found a gentleman that I'd actually known for quite a while to come on board who believed in what we're doing and help really lead the charge on this. He actually came on fairly early in the process while we were doing our formulation, and he has been instrumental in taking this thing to the next level. He had a lot of sales and marketing experience in the animal health industry, so he understands the story of dairy cows, beef cows, and the whole process, and really believes in agriculture. And so he's critical to the success of our company and has done a really, really good job. We just decided to take it on our own and invest and kind of create our own destiny. My dad would tell you we were flying a plane without engines, those engines being our sales and marketing. And so we decided to put some engines on the plane and and go from being a glider to an airplane. And so it's been a challenge. It's been a learning curve, been a really good education. We're definitely paying tuition. But just like when I dropped out of college to come run a dairy, my dad told me there's going to be some mistakes. There's going to be some stuff. I would have been paying tuition anyway, so I might as well pay it on the dairy. And we're learning, we learn from our mistakes. We learn from our wins. And I think we've made the right connections and started to really build a great team.
When it came to creating MOO'V as a brand, TJ and the team wanted to create a narrative that would connect the consumer in a unique way.
We want that story told in the eye of the cow. So if you go to our website, you can read a little bit about that story. We've got a few different names on there, but the way we've got it on the website, Nellie, she was one of our favorite oldest cows here on my dairy. And so we tied her into the picture and just really, I think, are able to educate the consumer that way. I mean, when you look at some of the movies that are out, kids are really familiar with talking animals that are, alive and just able to almost think like people. And so we kind of tied it back that way to help kids and adults alike understand, how amazing these animals that we deal with every day are. There's nothing like a cow, right? She not only produces milk, she has a calf. She's able to eat feed and byproducts that, would otherwise go into the landfill. She makes milk and then fertilizer. So you're fertilizing the fields around these dairies and providing organic fertilizer for farms that would have otherwise used commercial or petroleum-based fertilizers. And then, at the end of her life, she's beef and just continues to feed people. And so that whole cycle of a cow is just incredible. There's a reason they're my favorite animal.
The fun, colorful packaging also is an invitation for the consumer to engage in the story of MOO'V.
It's got a QR code on it. You can scan it, and Morgan, our dancing cow, shows up, and you can record that. It's virtual reality, so you can record you or friends with it and post it on social media. It takes you to our website. You can learn more about cows, the dairy cows. We've got coloring sheets on there. We've got whole bunch of different stuff. You can decorate a cow, put sunglasses on her, like all kinds of fun stuff.
MOO'V moved rather quickly from an idea to a formula to a product in a package. But TJ explains that the even greater challenge lied ahead as he faced the next steps in taking his own milk to the consumer marketplace.
And I would say that probably harder than that was finding a retailer that was willing to take a new dairy product in. Retailers had been hearing from really dairy processors that fluid milk is dying and they don't have the refrigeration capacity. They've given a lot of it. We've lost a ton of refrigeration shelf space to plant-based alternatives. And so to convince a retailer to put milk back on the shelf is definitely a challenge. Thankfully, we found retailer Hy-Vee here in the Midwest that is really pro-local products. Their milk buyer is pro-ag. He's just fantastic to work with. So he took a leap of faith and brought us on board. And so we were able to get it on Hy-Vee's shelves back in April. And we're slowly gaining some market share. Definitely an uphill battle, learning about pricing and advertising and how coupons work. You wouldn't think it would be that hard to just print coupons and have that, but you have to have somebody design it, get a barcode design. Then you have to find a clearinghouse. Then you have to get them in either a print, newspaper ad or online. And then when somebody actually uses it, then you're, making that connection and you're actually paying for that difference. And so it's been a learning curve from every angle. But like I said, thankfully I have a really, really good team that has taken a lot of that off of my plate and taken care of it and learned alongside of us and still allowed me to be day to day on my dairies too.
MOO'V is gaining ground and going toe to toe with every beverage in the case. And that is a process that takes time, patience, and courage.
It's a little bit scary. I mean, you're going up against, from my perspective, we're going head to head with Coca-Cola. They took on Fairlife, and that's who you're up against. And they have huge budgets, huge staff, amazing distribution. But I think even we're the small guy in that arena. And so it's, I don't know, it's an opportunity. David and Goliath, right? Like
Yeah.
you just, and I wouldn't, David and Goliath maybe isn't even the right comparison because we're not trying to knock them out. We're just trying to sell more milk. One of the places we're really pushing to get Hy-Vee to put it is in their health section, because we are going for the mom that's wanting to make sure that her kid's fed something healthy.
Yeah.
And is maybe a little more concerned and willing to pay a premium for that.
Sure.
We're definitely a premium product. There's more input going into our product than just pasteurizing milk, putting it in a bottle and putting it on the shelf. And so, but you'll definitely find it in the dairy case. Then we're hoping to get it into some more like convenience store, quick serve areas, by the deli, out in the gas station areas and some of that. So it's definitely a work in progress, but we're gaining.
So where does TJ see MOO'V 5 years from now?
We're definitely a national company. Currently we're in the Midwest and then the South. My goal 5 years from now is that we're nationwide on every major retailer's shelf. 5 years from now, I hope we are in an aseptic package. I'm working really hard on making that reality through our plant design and building that out. I think we'll probably have another product out there. Not ready to say what that is yet, but it's also in the works. We're in that formulation stage on it now. We'll have a few more flavors out there. Later this year, we'll have chocolate launched. We are going to put a little bit of sugar in chocolate. I just couldn't get it right without adding a little bit of sugar, so we're going to use some cane sugar in there, but it'll still be significantly less than anything you see on the shelf today. And then, from there, who knows where it goes. I would think that we would either expand the plant that we're building or add another plant near one of our other locations. Whether we're milking any more cows or not, it's not necessarily in my game plan right now. It's to grow this other side of the business. And if we get to the point where we need more milk, I think there's a lot of good farmers out there that are probably ready to get paid what they deserve for that milk that they're producing and the care that they're taking for their cows, rather than just getting told what they have to do and what they're going to get paid and whether they're going to have a place to ship their milk or not. So I think there's a lot of different opportunities, but 5 years from now, we're definitely going to have a plant up and running. We're going to be putting MOO'V in stores across the country, and we'll be packaging it aseptically as well.
Taking a product from the dairy all the way to the dairy case is no easy task, but TJ has a motivation that keeps him moving forward.
Hopefully our kids want to come back and do this. I've had people ask, like, isn't it enough? And I'm like, looking at Zane, my son, growing up, and he's on the autism spectrum, and so he's got some things that are super strengths. He's amazing at math and some of that, and then he's got some weaknesses, some just interaction with people and things. But I want to make sure that no matter what he wants to be, he can do it within our company somehow. If it's a lawyer, if it's an accountant, if it's a doctor, if it's a vet, if he just wants to be a herdsman, whatever that is, like, create the opportunity, right? So whatever he wants to be. And if he's not interested in our company and working alongside me, then, I'm okay with that too. But I just want to make sure the opportunity's there.
And all of this plays into TJ's bigger vision with dairy and MOO'V to create lifelong consumers of milk. And so what can the rest of us do to champion this movement? It comes to the basics of being our own advocates, regardless of where we are at in this industry.
I think the biggest thing is just continue to educate people. Like, don't be afraid to talk to somebody, right? And I'll sit on a plane next to somebody and they ask what I do. Don't be afraid to tell them, right? Tell them the truth. Tell them the story. Be proud of it, right? Be proud of being a dairy farmer or a nutritionist or, whatever position you're in ag. Be proud of it. Educate the consumer. Don't be afraid to talk to that person next to you, right? Like, everybody's buried in their cell phones these days, right? Tunnel vision on what they find on social media. I think what you're doing is awesome with the podcast, social media, some of the stuff, like, educate people. Because I think the more people understand how much we really care, the more they're going to go out and reach for my product and others. And I think that's the biggest thing we can do.
And so where can you find MOO'V? Check out the dairy case at Hy-Vee stores in the Midwest and find links in the show notes to follow MOO'V on Facebook and Instagram. TJ shared with us the story of MOO'V today and the innovation of this product and how it was him solving problems as a dairyman and as a dad that led to finding his own solution. And in much the same way, our sponsor for this episode, Heritage Vet Partners, is doing the same thing. And you're going to want to stick around to hear more about it. Heritage Vet Partners is the nation's leading veterinary partnership that is truly revolutionizing the way veterinarians serve the most progressive and forward-thinking dairy farm clients across the country through a new model of providing exceptional service, consultation, products, technologies, and supplies. And here to join us today and telling us more about Heritage Vet Partners and how they are doing it is CEO Dr. David Gnad. Welcome to the Uplevel Dairy Podcast.
Thank you, Peggy. I really appreciate the opportunity. Certainly a fan of your podcast and really looking forward to this episode.
Dr. Gnad, I'm really excited to bring to our listeners a better understanding of who Heritage Vet Partners is and what you are doing because it's really unique and different. And our listeners are going to want to tune in and hear from you exactly how Heritage Vet Partners is really serving dairy clients in a meaningful way and meeting them where they're at. And so, Dr. Gnad, please go ahead and tell us a little bit more about the model that is Heritage Vet Partners.
Heritage Vet Partners is exactly what the name suggests. It's veterinarians that have come together in a community as partners within one business. So we're super aligned, and the group is today is really the Midwest, East Coast, into the Great Plains, and continuing to grow really every month. And it's veterinarians coming together with a common vision, and that is to figure out how we best serve our customers today, and maybe more importantly, how do we best serve them into the future?
Now, when you talk about how to best serve customers and your quest specifically when it comes to our dairy producers out there, what were the challenges that you identified as a practicing veterinarian that were facing dairy producers and that really led you to see a different way to serve that audience?
Yeah, well, your audience would know the best that list of challenges is long. For us, the ones that we saw that we felt like we could help with and provide value, one of them was the regulatory issues and regulation and challenges that we see. And especially as we saw our customers growing in geography or animals moving distances, as we commonly see in the dairy industry, how do we help them with that? How do we make sure that we're where they need to be, not just providing advice from afar, but actually being geographically where their animals are and where they need to be. So that's certainly an important strategic plan for us, is where are the animals, where are our customers, and that's where we need to grow and where we need to be. Another area that we saw a lot of challenges is with the technologies and maybe even research, and our customers are being inundated by all the new stuff coming and trying to be sold on what might be the best thing for their operation. We really want to be the trusted advisor for them and help wade through that. We spend a lot of time paying attention to the research, to the new technologies that are coming out, how they affect production, how they affect performance and profitability. And to be that trusted advisor, to help them kind of wade through all that and see what might be best for their operation.
Dr. Gnad, you really speak to our listeners here and this challenge of having veterinary services and care where the cattle are. And I mean, just look at the dynamics of our dairy industry, where now we have more dairies that are multiple site in different locations. We see young stock that is in different geographical pockets than it once was, and the interstate transfer of animals and just this relocation of animals from one place to another. And so these are some of the challenges you're speaking to.
Yeah, 100%. And I kind of mentioned the regulatory stuff, and that's kind of, belt and suspenders, but aligning protocols, making sure they're happening on both ends of that movement to ensure that, the health, well-being, production, and performance of those animals that ultimately are important to the production unit.
I think that goes hand in hand with the other challenge that you brought up, and that is this challenge of producers trying to wade through decision making, especially when it comes to things like technology and data. And as you mentioned, you really look at your team to be those trusted advisors, to do that work, the hard work of sifting through the research and the data and being able to provide real solutions that solve problems. and be involved in every aspect of the operation and of the life cycle of the animal. And that's really where you guys see your fit.
Everybody listening to this knows how busy our customers are, what it takes to run a large facility. And there's a lot coming at them, a lot on their plate. And our goal in the animal health space is to be that advisor to kind of help them take something off of their plate. They don't have to maybe worry about that quite as much, more of overseeing it.
So Heritage Vet Partners was really founded as an incredible solution for dairy producers, but it also offers a solution for veterinarians who are sincerely vested and interested in the way that they can sustainably serve dairy clients and be there with them for the long haul. And so how has this business model benefited the ability for veterinarians to be able to serve dairy producers at the level that they want to?
You mentioned something in sustainability, and today many people have heard the challenges with getting the number of veterinarians to the rural areas and being able to serve the food animal customer. We definitely are in tune to that. That's important. There's only one way we can provide these services to our customer, and that's to have veterinarians. It's critical to what we do. So when you ask practices or veterinarians why they join Heritage Vet Partners, it varies a little bit. Everybody has maybe a little different reason that motivated them. But what we try to do for all practices that join is to try to take things off of the table or their plate, things like payroll and health insurance premiums, things like that no veterinarian really likes to do, but has to in their small business. And if we can help support things like that and take that off, they can have the choice of spending more time with their customer, or they can spend more time with their family, however they want to spend their time and do those things. That we think that's really important to help minimize the burnout and veterinarians leaving the profession.
So what I hear through this conversation, Dr. Gnad, is a lot of problem solving and identifying areas within the industry on the producer side and the veterinarian side, but overall for the best possible care of the animal. And it really just seems like all of these three pieces line up for a much bigger picture. And so for you, when you look at the vision of how Heritage Vet Partners will move forward with this fast-paced changing U.S. dairy industry, what do you see?
I think we'll continue to grow, and I know we'll continue to go geographically. So again, we're there where they need to be as the industry begins to change or continues to change and grow. Very important. And then as we bring in bright, inquisitive, motivated veterinarians into our group, we're going to naturally provide and identify better solutions for our customers. We don't have all the answers, but we believe that together, we're going to have the best chance of finding the answers in the future. We not only have this happening on the dairy side, but we have it happening in the swine industry and the beef industry. We have veterinarians that are focusing in those areas, and it's really neat to kind of big picture to see together, whether it's a calf barn or a hog barn, there are things that are very similar. Air quality is important. Water quality is important. And you go down the list, and being able to take best practices from across industries to be able to better serve our dairy customers is super exciting into the future.
Well, what you've explained here, Dr. Gnad, has really piqued my interest, and also I think our listeners too, in having a better understanding of who Heritage Vet Partners is. And so for our listeners out there that want to check it out and want to find some more information, where can they learn more about Heritage Vet Partners?
You can certainly go to our website. It's heritagevetpartners.com. And that'll have the information you need to find a practice that's close to you, veterinarians that are close to you, and also if veterinarians are out there that might be interested, that's the place to go as well.
Great. And we will include all of those links in our show notes. Thank you so much, Dr. Gnad, for joining us. And thank you, Heritage Vet Partners, for sponsoring this episode of the Uplevel Dairy Podcast.